All right, guys, thank you for coming out to the second annual Sir Walter Myler athlete panel. My name is Pat Price with Sir Walter Running, and tonight we have an awesome local guest host. I'd like to introduce you guys to I'll Have Another Podcast, Lindsey, Hein. If you were here before last year, you kind of know what we're going to do. If you're new, we have, I think, 6 or 7, 8 athletes. We're going to bring them up 2 at a time, ask them some questions for about 10 minutes, ask you guys if you want to ask them some questions, and then we'll bring the next group up. And at the end, we'll bring in Leer, who will be helping us announce this weekend, also a very accomplished athlete, will be joining us from Boulder, Colorado. So let's see, do we have our first people here yet? Coming up first is going to be Micaela DeGenero. Oh, no, excuse me. Messed up the order, sorry. Jenn, Randall, and Gina McNamara. Are we here?
I was gonna say I had different names on my list.
The order's always changing. All right, let's bring them on. Jenn, Gina, thank you for coming to Runologie.
You guys have seats right here. Yeah. VIP spots here. All right. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. I'm really excited to join Pat and the Sir Walter team for this event. I'm excited to immerse myself in the Raleigh community a little bit more. We'll start with Gina and Jenn and talk a little bit about why you came to Sir Walter. What are you excited about for the race this year?
I feel like I've heard about this race from a lot of other people, and I've seen race videos of it, and it's really cool. And I've been really eyeing that 4:30 barrier. I'm half a second off it, so I really want an opportunity to really go after that, and I'm really excited to get a chance to.
Similar answer here. I think there's a really deep running history in Raleigh with this race and a lot of women in the past few years. There's a bunch of Michigan women that have come through, so it's exciting to be a part of the field. Going for such an intense and fun barrier.
I'm super curious. Have you ever done a race on the track like this where there's fans on the inside?
Welcome to Raleigh. All right, both of you guys have kind of interesting stories about where you are currently in your career. I know Jenn and I talked on the Summer of Miles podcast. If you haven't checked it out, do that, please. But Gina, I know you raced at Michigan and then took some downtime and you're getting back at it. So what made you want to get back into this crazy world of racing fast people?
That's a great question. I ask myself that pretty frequently. I have a really awesome coach out of Washington, D.C. that's been really, really patient with me the past 5 years. I left Michigan and just general collegiate running, a little bit dinged up and very burnt out. And taking time just to establish a career, work, get my footing back, get healthy, and really enjoy running again. Started back in COVID. So started doing workouts in COVID, started feeling really fit, did a couple of road miles where again, the culture is great. They also put you with those families. There's usually people on the roads lining up everything, similar to what Sir Walter has. And knocked some time off of my road mile PR, ended up running an 800 PR last year, and then also had the career change where I was eligible to reapply for dual citizenship with Malta, and all of those things coming together kind of got me back on the track and training in a serious mindset.
Okay, so let's not skip over it. Didn't you set a national record?
I did run a national 1500 meter record in Vancouver 2 weeks ago.
Show of hands. Who knew that Malta was a country? Malta. Man, we got smart people here. Or they're just sucking up to you, Gina. So.
But the other cool thing is you're going to set another record on Friday, right?
That's the goal. That's the goal.
What needs to happen to set the record on Friday?
Hopefully the pacing is good, the conditions are good, the pack all stays together, and stay focused through laps 2, 3, 4.
All right, Jenn, you had a similar story. Good, I would say, probably you would probably agree with a good college career, but then really dug in over COVID and basically dropped from 446 to 430 the mile without any pharmaceutical help. We said, right?
But wait a second, you were trying to break your husband's 5K PR. Tell us that story.
Yeah. So my now husband started coaching me when I moved to Eugene, and I just like kind of brought running, and he was like, I think you got some more potential, and like started coaching me. And then during COVID, I kind of refocused on the 5K. And we had this like, we're really competitive in all things. And we had this rivalry going where he's like, I bet you can't break my PR. And I was like, yeah, I can. So really, like when I had my first race after COVID, I went down to a sound running meet. And my goal in that race was really just to break his PR. And then I broke it by over 30 seconds.
Did he talk to you that day?
He was very excited for me. He was like freaking out during the race. And I still hold it. So I think he's trying to come back for that.
Is he running the coaches race this tomorrow? When's Friday?
I don't maybe.
Next time.
Get him an entry. If not, let's get him signed up.
The funny thing with that is for a while my dog had a faster mile record.
What was that? What was the record?
It was actually 4:30, but it was on the road. So my 4:30 on the track is definitely faster, but there was a race where like the younger mile where my dog, I ran like a 4:35 and my dog and husband ran a 4:30 together. So, like I didn't live that down, but the dog ran faster than me. But now we're even. He's just a pit lab, just a mud, fast mud.
Just a reminder, no dogs allowed on the infield Friday. No dogs. They're very anti-dog. We like dogs. They don't.
What about children?
You got children? Watch them. You see my children acting crazy? Watch them too.
You do a lot though. Like, are you still coaching cross country and track? Still physical therapy, like all the things.
Yeah.
How are you balancing this?
I'm lucky now. My job has a little more flexibility. When I first started getting back into it, I was working a lot and really just squeezing in workouts in the dark, like after work. My husband would bike next to me while I did a tempo in the dark. But now I have a little more flexibility where I make my own hours, so I can actually travel to meets a little. And then squeeze in some coaching in there too, and just kind of really just. It's one of those things where like you only have this time to work out, so you just have to do it, which I'm sure a lot of you know too, with like jobs and trying to get runs in. You just do it when you can, and that's how it goes.
All right. Let's ask some crowd questions. Who's got one for him? Yeah, Brady, where you at?
Just top fiver.
Okay.
You could just, yeah.
Talk louder. You're good at that.
It kind of sounds like both of y'all, like, post-collegiate took some time away from serious racing and training, then you kind of get back into it. At what point did it go from, like, low pressure and fun to get kind of bigger fast again to, I want to compete at a higher level?
Gina, you want to take that first?
I can take it first. So I think the dual citizenship opened up a lot of doors for me. I had small states games in Europe earlier this summer, and then European team championships. Both of those races were at a pretty high level and unlocked some PRs that I haven't touched since college. And that kind of put it back in my head that I've still got the fitness. I think I've still got a lot more in me that I want to chase in and find out.
Yeah, I think for me, when I like kind of had my first race after COVID, I didn't realize like where I was at until then. And then it was like only like a week or two before the window closed for USA. So it was kind of a little late to chase that. But I think that just got me like thinking like, oh man, like I'm in like the range that I can try to make it to USA. So I think that just kind of got me started on that track in 2021 where I had like some bigger goals to set my sights on that I really just like didn't know was a possibility before COVID. So it just kind of came out after and gave me something to work for.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming out. We'll be cheering for you Friday night. Let's give it up for.
Can I ask Gina one more thing though? Because she also works full time too, correct? So can you just, because I don't want to pass over that. What do you do?
I worked in Capital One Center for Machine Learning. And before that, I did consulting for 5 years. I would not recommend.
Okay, thanks. I just didn't want to graze over that because I was talking about how you did so much, and I'm like, I know you're working full time too. Yeah.
But I would agree, consulting is bad for your running. So good job, good pay, good benefits. Not so good for the PRs.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have a fine pair of gentlemen from the Empire Elite Track Club. They're both alumni of the Sir Walter Myler. We've got Eric Holt and Ben Allen.
Hey guys, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, I think one of my favorite parts about this interview is that you're repeat Sir Walter people. So what brings you back?
Well, it was a very interesting weekend. It was between here and Murphy Classic, but this is a special place, and we really wanted to come here because we knew the pace was hot. We know there's an opportunity to run an unbelievably fast mile, and my MLPR is a 3:53, and I'm here to hopefully PR and hopefully come with my first Sir Walter win, which would be amazing. And I know this guy's PR 3:59 he should be breaking 3:55 on Friday. So
Here, Eric. Here. Kind words. We like this. Ben, you broke for the first time here last year. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even know I broke forward during the time.
Yeah, I did have to hunt you down on the end of the track and say, here's your American flag, which is part of the reason we have Sir Walter flags now, because too many people broke for. So you're part of the problem, but also part of the solution. Thank you.
I obviously have glasses, but I don't really run in those, so pretty much racing blind out there, so I can't really see time or anything. So when I crossed the line, I was just walking around, not sure kind of what happened. With the flag, and oh. I couldn't even see the awesome.
You have a bigger leaderboard this year, so hopefully you'll be able to see it.
What do you think it was about the race last year that helped you break that barrier, or your training that went into it?
Just like the overall field was super quick. I knew if I could just latch on it back, pull a fast time, put myself out there.
Now, I know you guys ran a road mile this past weekend in Cleveland. What is the difference in running a race like that and running a race on the track?
I will say for me, like everything. I mean, I don't know why I've never done well on a road mile. I feel like from that movie, was it Space Jam? The aliens took my talent, and then on a track it comes back. I mean, I don't know why I can't run a road mile. I just don't know what's going on. I use every pair of super shoes and it's not the same for me.
Honesty is the best policy. Thank you, Eric.
Tell us about Empire Elite and your training group.
I think it's great. I mean, I originally wanted to join NJNY, which was basically, the group that, NJY eventually turned into Empire Elite. And I remember I lived like maybe a half hour, 40 minutes away. And I was kind of rejected from, I wasn't good enough to join NJNY. And eventually, in 2020, I had the opportunity to join Empire Elite. And I mean, it was such a special organization. And every year I've joined it, I've gotten a lot better. I basically went from 4 flat miler now to like a 3:53 miler. And hopefully on Friday, even a faster miler. So it's just been really cool and special because we consider ourselves underdogs, and we don't have the I think like every single one of our athletes, we weren't like studs in college. We're more or less nobodies, but we all got a lot better on this club, and we all developed a lot.
Yeah. For me, I just think we all want to be just really fast athletes, and we all love to work hard at practice, and I think that's just makes it so special. Obviously, like Eric said, kind of our underdogs, and kind of have something. We have great coaches. They want us to be great and stuff.
And Ben, you came from Concordia. How did you land in New York?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. I think I was racing at the Trials of Miles Meet in college my 5th year at St. Paul. And I remember seeing I didn't really know who they were. Initially at the time I was looking at the Holt group, and I didn't really know that they kind of separated. And I remember I was driving home with my coach, and all of a sudden we watched the 50-meter race that Eric won. And I just remember this interview just why is this guy yelling at the microphone?
It's called good energy band.
But yeah, just kind of hearing him motivated me to kind of learn more about the club. So my coach and I was like, let's check out this club, and little did we know, like the prior week was like and decided to reach out for one to be visited. I like it.
What's it like going into races saying we're the underdogs? Like, how do you stay confident when you gave yourself that title there?
I think for me, I don't know. I feel like just everything, I've been through, in my life, I'm like, even since I remember first joining track in high school, I remember like when I got good, there was a kid on my high school team 2 years younger than me, and he got all the attention the whole time. And, it was so funny. I remember after graduating high school, I would go back to my high school and everyone thought I was a younger kid because everyone thought he was supposed to be the stud. And even in college, there was other athletes that people thought had more potential than me. And so I just always felt like a chip on my shoulder my, entire life. And I felt like Empire was a team where I felt that energy. And, it's always like every race, I just want to like reprove myself and prove to, everyone that, we are something, you can't, overlook us. So.
Awesome. All right, who's got a question for Ben and Eric up here? All right, Jeff, what you got?
Okay, I'm curious about any like pre-race rituals or superstitions. Like, how do you like? What's the thing that you do that you got to do before your race to get you ready to go?
For me, I guess we should like to have like coffee 2 hours out. One thing that I do is like I race with my band upside down. I don't know. I did it once in college, and I guess I ran well, so I kind of stuck with it. That's
Cool.
I know for me, I like long black socks. I mean, I'll almost miss my flight. I'm like looking for them everywhere. And I remember I was at my mom's place and I'm at my parents. And I'm like, Mom, where's my long black socks? And she's like, I gotta make the airplane. It's like, I'm not going about it. Like every time they say it doesn't matter, it's a superstition. I don't wear it, I have a bad race. Every time I wear it, I PR. I gotta have the long black socks. I'm not leaving without it. So,
Back then?
of course.
I have some for sale here.
Runologie has all kinds of socks. I don't know if we have black ones today.
Got the black. Don't want color.
I'll find you some black socks if need be. All right, anybody else for Eric and Ben? Okay, over here. Alan, what do you got, sir?
Ben, have you not tried contacts?
That is actually funny because I actually brought some. So
Oh.
if I can get them in though.
Debut contact with.
Yeah, like if I show up with like bloodshot eyes,
Somebody help this man with contacts. Where's Todd Griffin? He here? Yeah.
What's it like with teammates, but also competitors, especially in the post-collegiate world?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm with this guy every single day. We have like a running joke because I'm sure as you know, Ben is a nice guy, but so we always call him like, oh, this guy is mean. He's vicious. You gotta watch out. He's a mean guy. So I mean, we always just joke, and we train each other every single day. But we always, I don't know. I think it's just like for us, it's just like it's just normal because we work out. And I know sometimes on speed days, this guy he's trying to nip me at the line, and it's always close. But I don't know. I would say it's like relatively normal because we race each other like almost every race. So it's I don't know.
pretty much game plan for coach. Like, oh, just sit behind there, just like a workout. So, but it's fun. We want each other to do well, so just nice to have each other in races.
Yeah. It's always great. I always like seeing this guy. And to be honest, I always tell Ben, I'm like, in every race, because sometimes I see how the way he works out. I mean, I just always tell him, like, come on, just stay with me. You can stay with me in a race. Like, you'll PR. Like, I know this guy's potential. He has so much in him. I'm always rooting for him. So honestly, it's for me. I like if he PRs and I don't, I'll be just as happy. So we'll see. If I run 4:05 and you run 3:3, then maybe not.
All right. Anything else for these guys? All right. Thank you, Ben Aaron, Empire League. Coach Boreman, Coach Renee. What's going on?
All right, next we have Madie, Boreman, and Micaela DeGenero. Did I say it right? All right, sweet. Welcome, ladies.
This is our Colorado Buffalo section of the night.
All right, so first Sir Walter for both of you.
Yes.
All right, how did we get you here?
That's a good question. Yeah, I feel like we both got done at CU a year ago, and this is so late in the season compared to the NCAA season, so that's probably why we haven't been here before.
Okay, so you're coming from steeplechasing.
Correct.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you transition the mindset from steeple mindset to straight running?
Yeah.
No barriers.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Steeple gets out a little bit slower than this does. But yeah, I mean, my coach and I made the goal, post USA's, where every race I'm just gonna put myself in it from the gun and see what happens. So really it's just doing the same thing, putting myself in it and seeing what happens. So it's all strategy at the end. So
I know I was gonna say, but do you like mentally prepare a little bit differently? Like, is the hurt different?
I mean, I ran the mile and I ran the 15 all through college. So it's not super out of my realm. But yeah, the hurt is a little bit different, but it is nice that it's so much shorter, so hurts less.
Is that why you ran the 2K steeple, American record? You wanted a shorter steeple?
Yeah, really that was one of the only steeples available between like USA's and Budapest. So yeah, that was fun and that was different, and yeah, definitely got out faster than normal steeple.
Did you ever run the 2K steeple like in high school?
I never ran steeple in high school, no.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, Micaela, I rewatched your 2022 indoor mile championship win the other day, where you just blew the doors off of everybody. What happened there?
Well, I mean, I guess like a lot of races, I got a lot of slop. I mean, it went out slower than most people capable of running. That played it in my hand. I was having a bad year. I had COVID earlier in the winter, so I didn't, get off to a great start that season. I wasn't in rip roaring fit shape, and going into it, I was like, oh, it's a little slower. I know I've got a good kick, so we'll just see what happens. Worked out perfectly. So
I don't know if I call that luck.
I know. I was gonna say, I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit there.
well, yeah, I mean, I've always been more of a kicker, less of I'm not someone who loves to go and push it to the front from the gun. So I love the race, and it ended up being that race. It was just like my strengths. And 2 laps to go. I was like, let's go for it. See what happens.
And so, what did winning that race do for your confidence?
Gave me a ton of confidence. The goal for that year was to try to be as high up in NCAA as possible, be more outdoor. So I was already, I wanted to be at that level. It wasn't like a super huge surprise that was the goal, but it was like a ton of doors for me professionally.
So let's talk about your sponsors a little bit. You're with Puma, you're with Wazel, so this is all very exciting. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how that became.
Yeah. So we both finished up at CU last year, and I am still coached by the pros at CU. I wanted to stay with them. I didn't want to older. I was kind of have that continuity. So I just kind of waited around until, I think the contracts are sometimes a little more in between. So I was just had to be pretty patient. I worked for a while full time, but I left that job. Running, it's just unique opportunities. So, but yeah, so Puma gave me an offer and this one, so it just all worked out.
And you have some family history with Puma too, right?
Yeah, my grandpa.
You had all the good tracksuits.
So yeah, kind of similar for me. I was working with the Colorado football team under Coach Prime for a little bit, and so I stuck around in Boulder, but I'm working with the new coach now, Julie Benson. And yeah, my agent and I kind of agreed to just wait around and see what the best option was. So yeah, kind of the same thing. Like individual contracts are hard to come by, and so I feel very lucky that Wazell kind of offered that to me and gave me an opportunity to be comfortable in the space and with the coach that I was in. Yeah.
And why would you ever want to leave Boulder, by the way?
Are you still in Boulder too?
So I'm like in between Boulder and Denver. It's called Westminster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And like, was that a company you had been eyeing? Had you been hearing
So
about them?
it's kind of funny because Kara Goucher, I house sit for her a little bit every now and then.
Name drop.
And I remember after my season had ended, she was like, okay, let's go for coffee. We go for coffee, and she's kind of like testing the waters, seeing what my plans are. And she had mentioned Wazell, and she was like, but like, we're trying to take it kind of in a new direction. So it was kind of like in the back of my head, but my agent and I were like, okay, we'll see kind of what happens there. But yeah, things ended up working out, and yeah, kind of funny.
So what shoes do you run?
I can run it whatever.
Yeah.
So, because the transition, like I did end at CU so recently, I still run in the same shoes I have for 6 years. So yeah, I'm still in Dragonflies and Pegasus and all that stuff.
Okay, do we want to talk about goals for the race this weekend?
Oh.
Put it out there.
Sure. I'm big on jinxing things, so I don't want to jinx it. But I feel a PR for sure. I think that this is the right environment, the right place, right group of women. The field's really competitive.
Screaming teens.
Yeah, we'll see.
What is your mile PR?
I feel like it was from the indoor season. In college, I want to say it's like 4:33ish.
Jen,
Yeah.
what's her PR?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's 4:33.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Jeff Karen. He does our women's field. He could tell you anybody in this race's PR to the 100th. So I have a question for you real quick, Madie. I know you came in from Europe and you've been staying at this really swanky townhouse called Run Quarters for the past few days. How's it been?
It was awesome.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you're coming to Raleigh, visit runquarters.com, your running premier Airbnb. Thank you.
Okay, goals.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it'd be great to get a PR. I mean, I fact that I didn't actually break my high school mile PR until last football season. So maybe it's time to do that PR.
What was your high school mile PR? Whoa.
Me too.
I'm just looking forward to being in a competitive race, and it's hard in first year as a professional. There's a lot of pressure. You need to like prove yourself in a new level in the field. So that's definitely something that I've struggled with this year. So definitely working on just being grateful for the races and just enjoying it.
It's a great mindset.
Yeah, we're glad you're both here. We're gonna show you a good time. We want you to run fast.
Thanks.
All right, we got any questions in the audience? What we got? Somebody give me one. Steve, give me a question.
Not paying attention.
You're grounded. All right.
Talk about working for Coach Prime. Did he have an appreciation for running or across like what you did?
Yeah, so it's funny because he doesn't he's a very competitive guy, obviously, so he's really into sports, especially at the professional level, and at like the elite competitive level. So he had an appreciation for that, but he didn't really understand like distance running. Like I remember one day, it was signing day, we had to be in the office at 4 a.m. because obviously, I mean, across the country, whatever. So we're in there at 4 a.m. I get there and he's like, "Oh, did you go for your run this morning?" I was like, "It's 20 degrees out," and like pitch black. So he doesn't really know all of that, but he tries. Yeah.
All right, Will, what you got back there?
What's the difference between Go Boss and Skill Boss? What team are you on?
Let's go.
I'm gonna go with Stowe, but that
Yeah.
means. That is what she-
I don't know what the difference is, but I've always said SCO. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the answer, Will?
Yeah. That's
No, when I've been in Folsom Field, it does sound a lot like Go Boss, Go. A lot like Go Boss.
never the same as SCO Ducks.
All right, let's give it up for these ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys. Great academy. All right, coming up next, we have a male-female tandem coming here locally from the Female Elite Group, Taylor Werner. Taylor, there we go. And from Furman Elite, Ryan Adams.
Because on the flight back from Boston marathon this year, Taylor and I randomly were just like sitting right next to each other. So that was our first introduction to each other.
Yeah, I totally acted like I had just met her for the first time, but I totally listened to your podcast.
I was like, are you guys the favorite team?
Look at us
So
now.
that's right. So I think this is so fun because, correct me if I'm wrong, is Taylor like the only local running?
Kinda, yes, maybe, sadly, yeah.
But that
You
makes you
win,
really
Taylor.
special. That makes you really special. So we're excited to have you.
Thank you. It's funny because North Carolina is my new home. Grew up in Missouri, went to college at Arkansas. So being the local here, I'm flattered. I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm being welcomed into the society a little bit, the community. I'm like, yes, we're here.
The
We made it.
society.
So you were you the first person to sign with the Puma team here?
Yeah, it was crazy. So COVID hit. I was finishing up. Yeah, I was in my 4th year at Arkansas. COVID hit. Obviously, everything shut down, and at that point, I had run well enough to turn professional, but options were very limited. But word got out that I did want to move on and pursue that, and my coach Alistair called me, said, "Hey, we're starting a new group," and everything he said just made it sound like a dream come true. And now we're here, and I'm the local runner, which is cool. Yeah.
If you've ever been on the ATT, you have probably run past Taylor one way or another. Alistair and Amy love the ATT.
Yeah, hopefully I'm smiling. Sometimes it can get a bit monotonous. We're there a lot, but it is such a good trail. And yeah, along with Umstead, I mean, this place is kind of a running mecca. I feel like
Yeah, that's right.
love Missouri. I'm shocked. It's so nice.
Man, I like this girl.
I do too. I'm just gonna say, coming from a very flat place of living, it has been a very hard adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in Missouri and we like just ran on gravel country roads. So when I got into Umstead, it was like, oh yes, this is home. And then yeah, if you need some reprieve, you get on the ATT, certain parts. But yeah, it's really nice. I like it.
Love it, love it. All right, and Ryan, you were back on the scene again, come from Furman, so you got some roots with our own Logan Roberts, but you recently got your Mexican dual citizenship and won a couple of national championships this few weeks ago. What's going on, man? Where you been and what happened?
Yeah, I kind of was under the radar for a little bit, I guess. Definitely popped off the socials, and I was in Atlanta actually. I signed to Atlanta Track Club initially, straight out of Furman, and love my teammates, love my coaches, but just it didn't agree with my body. So after quite a few injuries, I made the decision to part ways, and was training myself briefly earlier this year, which was a disaster. And thankfully, Robert here reached out to me, just kind of like, yeah, definitely like I haven't heard from you, are you still alive kind of deal. And he was like, if I can help you out in any way, let me know. And I was like, well, he's a coach. Like, I want to give this thing one more shot. I don't feel like I'm done. And thankfully, took me up on that offer. And kind of feels like, reunited back at the field.
Cool. Well, you just ran the Guardian Mile this past weekend, so you're kind of getting back in the swing. But tell us more about the Mexican National Championships, winning the 1800 and 1500. How was that?
Yeah, it was. So the last championship race I did was the U.S. Olympic Trials, actually back in 21, and it was wild. First of all, people were speaking a different language, but no, it was definitely going in. It was intimidating just to know that this was my first proper race at altitude. It was actually in Puebla, which is about 7,200 feet, and rolling in there and knowing that there's some pretty solid guys. Mexico doesn't have quite the depth that the U.S. has, but at the top end, you got guys like Lalo and you in the 8, and I kind of knew that I had to be on my A game, especially after not running for a couple of years or racing for a couple of years. So, and I think it's kind of my advantage. I'm fairly certain that everyone saw the name Ryan Adams and we're like, this is like a typo or like doesn't have parece gringo enough. But yeah, no, it was a fantastic experience, and with the Federation, Mexican Federation, it's been a lot different. They've been pretty open to help me out.
So sights set on making an Olympic team for Team Mexico?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's awesome. You ran the Guardian Mile too, right?
I did.
Okay. Tell us about that a little bit.
So the winner went out in 61 seconds for the first 400. So you can kind of guess how it went, but great time. Would love to do it again. Might pace ourselves a little bit better, but it's kind of like what Eric was saying earlier. The road mile versus the track mile. I don't know why it's so different, but it just is. I think it's just a little bit more reckless. So I am excited to get back on the track. Kind of feel like the rhythm part of it a little bit better, but Guardian Mile was fun. Yeah.
And you recently ran a 5K PR 15:04, eyeing that sub 15, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was a really big breakout race for me. That was at Portland Track Festival. Felt really good. Felt like I had a lot more in the tank. Unfortunately, I found out that I had COVID at USA, so that didn't go so well. But we're here now, and I would love to do some more track races like this one this year, and then hopefully next year when we get to the Olympic year, I can get some big PRs, Olympic standards, and see what happens. Yeah.
How's that like speed shift going from racing 5K to now you're coming here to do the mile?
It's a lot. It's I keep telling myself, I'm like, okay, the mile, it's like 4.5 minutes. That's it. It's so much less pain. Like that's great. But when you're lactic, like there's nothing you can do. Like you can't mentally choose to do something. So it's kind of just a toss up. It's exciting. Like I don't know what's gonna happen out there, but we're gonna find out soon.
Friday nights, yes.
Yes.
9:15 p.m. women's race. That's right. All right, Ryan, tell us about your training setup now.
It's gonna sound like I'm like keeping things a secret or close to the vest, but I really don't have one.
If you're a Mexican competitor now, USADA can't get you, so don't worry about it.
Oh yeah. So for the past 3 months, I was actually living in Mexico City, training up there. It's altitude. It's 7,400 feet, so good prep for Nats. But initially, when I left Atlanta, I actually bought a one-way ticket. Not really sure when I was going back, so it was just kind of like going out there on wing and prayer. So now that I'm back, I had my life planned up through Friday, and
I love that.
we'll see where we go from there.
And Guardian went pretty well for you. What was it like? So I know you were competing against some people that we might not be as used to in the Mexican championships, but you're running against, Holt and Kimboy, all these guys, Johnny G at Guardian. How'd you feel about your performance there?
I was really pleased. That was actually my first road mile I've ever run, and I was actually really happy to be there because I'm actually originally from Cleveland, so we're just outside of it, Akron, really. But it was just being back home, and I got to see so many familiar faces. A lot of my couple of friends and family came out to cheer me on, which was pretty awesome. And I'd say that was the first time, probably about 2 years, that I really felt that lactic feeling that Taylor was talking about. And kind of down that last 50, I was Johnny had taken off well before then, already trying to afterburners, but Amon was right there, and a good motivator is honestly all I seen was that paycheck sounds really nice. I think the extra dollars for second place were definitely worth the extra bit of pain. So nice.
All right, Taylor, since you're local, what do you think about the evolution of Puma Elite from you as like the OG person to now y'all have a bunch of athletes,
It's so cool. So I mean, like when I joined, I should know. I think I was 22. I just turned 22, brand new to the pro world. And all you're thinking is like, are people going to be my teammates? It was really scary, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. I really wanted to work with the Crags, but it's scary. And we eventually got my teammate Fiona to join and a couple others, and then just seeing like the personalities come in, it's been so much fun. Like it's truly a family there, and I don't know, I love that freaking team. They're such good people, and I just feel like we have something really good going. And now we got we have Coco Klosterhoffen, who just joined, who's a world medalist, and we have Natasha Rogers, who just made the world team, and we have Amon Pimboy, who's running like really fast right now. And we got all these people that are doing really big things, and to be able to be there in and out every day and see them join, see their journey, it's just such a good experience. So big fan, yeah.
Well, and I mean, Amy talked about this a lot. She started the group here because Raleigh is such a cool place to live.
Facts.
And I love that. Are you finding that?
Yeah, so you guys are offended. I am more in the Durham area. I like it up here. It's cool, but
The triangle.
the triangle.
We'll
Around, but it's so big. There's a lot of space. You can, I don't know, I'm from Redneck, Missouri, and so I'm able to get to the woods just fine and like feel at home. And then when I want to hit the traffic again, I just get back on the highway. But there's a lot to do, a lot to see. I feel like Raleigh is just like huge new place that we haven't even ventured up too much because there's just so much to see close by. Such a fun area, and yeah, like Fort May's altitude, humidity. Come on, you can't get better than that, right?
I think you can get better than humidity. I kind of like to be in Colorado right now, just taking it in. But yeah, we love it here. So
Positivity.
we're glad you like it, Taylor. You're very welcome.
I appreciated being able to breathe on our run this morning.
Lindsey and I had a good run. Flat Rock, 5 miles out there. Good times. Yeah. All right, Ryan, you said you don't know what's next. Have you thought about it since we've been sitting up here? What are you gonna do?
I haven't quite put together that plan yet in the past 3 minutes. But right now it's I think all I can do is continue to perform the best I can and continue to be competitive in races, win races, PR, and I think maybe just manifesting this, but if you do what you're supposed to be doing, then opportunities open and doors open. So so that's what I'm hoping for. But now it's just a matter of let's run fast on Friday and figure things out after that. 5 minutes of your hands.
Okay, works for me. Yeah. Yeah, apparently if you were parked in the old circus parking
There's
lot
one black
across the
car
street-
that's out back that's yours. The circuit they are towing, so just I don't want you to get turned.
Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.
I was just gonna say that is a really, actually seems really refreshing mindset to not know what's next and just be going day by day.
I just try not to think about it too much because if I do this, then
Okay, so not refreshing.
when I don't think about it, it's so yeah.
All right, who's got a question for Taylor and Ryan up here? Okay, over here. Robinson, what you got?
Do your coaches acknowledge that there's skills on the APP?
Depends on the day, depends on who. Alistair will say, "Oh, it's flat. What are you talking about?" And like, I don't know, but then we'll do hill repeats at Herndon Park. I'm like, so if we're doing hill repeats, then it's not flat. But these are one of those things where we just tell ourselves that we're right. Walk away and we're like, we don't need the ego boost to admit that he was wrong. Amy is a bit more forgiving about that stuff.
Shout out,
Sometimes.
Amy. Steve,
So we're coming into the Olympic year. I had a question for Taylor. So like 1504, kind of trending upwards, starting to like think about that picture. How do you approach like that prime goal in the sport, coming from like your position, like where you stand in rankings?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of depth right now. And sometimes it can get really hard to see what other people are doing and think like, you know, they have more experience than me, they have better PRs than me. I've been working with a sports psych and I talk a lot with my coaches, and ultimately it's my own journey and I want to do it. I do, and it's one of my goals. And if I don't make it, I want to go in there knowing that I give myself the best shot. You know, it's the classic focus on things that you can control, but I found I had a huge breakthrough this year, and to me that's really exciting. There's a lot of momentum, and even though for me USA didn't go well because I was sick, it's still like being there, seeing it, experiencing, and seeing what I have to do. And now I have teammates that are at that level. Training with them has been a huge blessing, and I don't know, I feel like there's so much positivity with things, how things are going right now, that it's hard for me to think that things will go wrong, but it's just exciting, you know, it's really exciting. So that's just kind of what I'm focusing on.
any more questions?
Annabelle.
Annabelle, what you got?
So did your group go and do stems at altitude?
Oh yeah. So we actually went to Mammoth Lakes at the beginning of May. Fun fact, they had record level snows in the winter, 58 feet. So piles of snow, but the running roads were good. And then after like 6 weeks, we went to Park City, Utah, just so we could train at lower altitude. It's like 4,500 feet in Provo. Yeah, so, and then we'll go to Colorado Springs in the winter. I'm sure we'll go to Flagstaff at some point, like everyone else. So, yeah, we do a lot of them. It's fun. It's nice to get away a little bit. I mean, again, I love the humidity, but yeah, it is nice.
All right, let's give it up for Ryan Taylor. All right, we got one more tonight. We have our guest announcer this year. Man who's finished fourth in the Olympic trials and has won national championships in the mile, 2 mile indoors. Will Leer, come on down to Baby Billy's Bible Bunkers. Will is enjoying.
Have you tried one of these local mile loggers? They're incredible.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
They drink like a sub-4.
Welcome.
Hi,
Thanks for being here.
great to see you in person.
Yeah, I know. Will's been on my podcast before. One of
Guilty.
one of my favorite interviews.
That was a lie.
No, it wasn't. You know, so many times somebody comes on your show and you're like, what's this gonna be like? And then you get off and it's like, oh my gosh, they were so much fun.
I live my life that way. Low expectations and try and supersede them just a little bit.
Yeah. I was very pleasantly surprised. Talk about like this part of your career. Like, what are you doing in life right now?
That's a loaded question. That's a loaded question. What am I doing in life right now? Trying to enjoy some yellow bellies with my host family, which is a Coors Banquet beer. No, so, you know, I thought when I retired from the competitive side of sport that I wanted to be as far away as humanly possible. And then COVID hit, which allowed a lot of time of self-reflection, which I'm sure all of us have, of staring at a wall and trying to think about finer things in life. And I realized that I love track and field. So it drew me back in, and I was very fortunate to have, at the time, a sponsor that saw more value in me than just as an athlete and brought me into the fold in the sports marketing role. So I currently work for Under Armour in our own sports marketing team, which is a dream job. It's so fun to work with a brand that's growing so quickly, maybe not as quickly as Puma. Our VC money isn't coming quite as hot. But no, a brand that's growing in the space. And I think one of the really cool things about the run industry right now is that a couple of years ago, athletes were throwing away sponsorship offers because of technology. And now the playing field has ultimately leveled. And so we're able to offer our offers to athletes and not feel embarrassed by them, which is, it speaks volumes of where these companies are coming from. On the other side of my professional life, I've watched a lot of track and field, and probably like a lot of people in this room, been bored by watching a lot of track and field. And I couldn't sit idly by anymore and just say, God, this just, put it on mute and put music on in the background, or just listen to Kyle and Chris on Sidious, which was also fun, and I love those guys. But trying to offer a different perspective, a little bit more energy to the live broadcast. I had a great joy of commenting on Taylor's 1504 at Portland Track Festival, which was super exciting, and being able to add context and celebrate those achievements of athletes that otherwise, might just go unnoticed.
All right, well, your wife, I should probably Leer, ran this race last year.
We're not sad that she's not here.
A little bummed, but we'll take the lesser half. What did she warn you about when coming to Raleigh?
Sorry, what was that? I was just wondering what she was doing right now.
Get her on Skype in a second.
Yeah. So I'll just say this about Sir Walter Myler. Sir Walter Myler was in its infant stages when I was sort of at the apex of my career, which meant that I was living every single day in Europe, hoping to get the call from my agent that I was getting a start on the next Diamond League. And so I missed out on events like this. And throughout the last decade, I mean, we're celebrating 10 years this year.
10 years.
Which is so, can I swear here?
Sure, why not? Yeah.
I
don't see any children here.
Are you cool if I utter some 4-letter words?
He's in high school at least.
It's so fucking awesome. It's so good. And watching Aisha race here last year, the only thing that I felt was regret that I never had the opportunity to race here myself. And so what do I get to do as an old guy with a ton of gray? The hair is still there, it's just very gray. Is I can come back and try and be a part of the action.
Thank you for coming. We're excited to have you here, even though we did make you offers many years ago. But looking back on your career, Will, what were some maybe a highlight or two that you're really proud of?
When I ran 13:21 for 5K, it was one of the most prideful races I've ever run in my life. And this is going to resonate with some of the athletes probably more than
pre-super shoes, asterisk, yeah, right?
Yeah, whatever. It was what it was. But it was the first time that I put myself into a race and really grabbed the opportunity and all pun intended, ran with it. Right. So I entered a race and I was told by the meet director that there was going to be pacers for what was the Olympic standard. There was a competitive international field, and I orchestrated many weeks of training around showing up at that start line, and I got there and not a single of those things was true, which is not what's going to happen on Friday. You're all here to to race each other, which is fantastic. We didn't have that. And rather than walk away and race at Stanford 3 days later, where they ran 13:08 or something like that, this track was about 5 miles away from where I went to college. My college coach was there. My family was there. My wife was there. Girlfriend at the time. And I just said, fuck it. We're going to go for it. And I think we ran our first lap in like 66. And so I went to the front. I was like, no, we're going to run 63s. And then some guy clipped my heels and I was like, tight, someone wants to take the pace. I moved out, ran another 66. And so I ran the last, not too dissimilar from Taylor's race in Portland. I ran the last 3K of that race all by myself, running a personal best by 40 odd seconds. I was a 1500 guy. I hated the 5K. But it was one of those things that was like, oh, everything doesn't have to be perfect. And that was one of the first times that I learned that about myself and about running. The second race is the single race that I'm most proud of in my life, and that's when I won the second national title in Albuquerque with my father in the stands, who was recovering from stage 4 cancer, and no one had ever won the double at USA before the 3K and the 1500 the following day. But again, what other choice did I have? There is an asterisk to be added to that. There were 4 people entered in the 3K the day before, which is a different conversation. We can have that if anyone wants to. I would know if anyone wants to talk about that 3K. A win is a win. You got to show up for the race. But I didn't think it was going to affect me much the next day. And then, like, I found myself 800 meters in, about 30 meters behind a bunch of urban guys. Where's Ryan? Probably singing some Taylor Swift songs. Anyone get that deep reference? No, we'll get there eventually. Ryan Adams made a very great cover album of Taylor Swift songs. I assume it's the same guy.
Lived in Raleigh for a long time. Yes.
Yeah. And these guys, you know, they knew that I'd run a race the night before. They took out pretty hard right altitude. And it was one of these moments where I'm just sitting back there, I was embarrassed. And then the beauty of the mile, there's another half mile to go. And slowly but surely reeling people in. And then it was pride and determination.
All right, well, I have one question I want to ask you. We have a lot of newcomers this year, a lot of people getting started in their career. One of your races I distinctly remember is the 2012 Olympic trials final, where you came forth and nipped Alan Webb at the line. And that was kind of the start of your, career.
We think about that differently.
Well, what would you say to some of these people that are just kind of getting started in the pro running world?
Keep racing. Race everybody. Race always. Because it takes one person watching you run an inspired performance to give you your next opportunity. So I came out of Division 3, and I raced at, a couple of you guys have raced at Oxy last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, whatever it was, which I still maintain is the fastest track in America. But I ran a race in front of Frank Gagliano. I meant nothing to him until after the race, and he said, "You can compete. I can train you to be fast. I cannot train an athlete to be competitive. That fire is something that is innate in an athlete." And so he gave me an opportunity. So keep racing. Don't ever be afraid of anybody who wants to race you. Like, these times on a piece of paper are nothing. You can always outperform a time on a piece of paper, but keep racing.
How do you get your mind in the right place to do that, though? Like, when you feel like you have imposter syndrome on the line, or, Taylor mentioned working with a sports psych. How did you get to the place where you felt like I belong, even if these guys have run 20 seconds faster than me?
I'm so old, I don't think sports psychs existed during my career. That's a lie. I'm not that old. Maybe. So a dear friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, David Torrance, once said to me about one of his breakthrough races. He was very, very nervous and suffering from exactly what you're referring to, imposter syndrome. What am I doing here? Why am I on the start list? I don't want to be here. Everyone's so much better than me. And he had a coach who came up to him and said, "Why not you? Why not today? You've done the work. You've all done the work. Training is hard as shit. We all know. I ran 6 miles today and I want to kill myself." That's not true. But my host family back there, Melissa said, "That looks more like a walk than a run, Will." I was like, "No." It's called strategy. You go out 3.1 so you can come back 2.9 and walk it in. Am I wrong? Come on.
Be kind to our guests.
Yeah. Everybody has their day, and it just takes one to unlock. And so the words that I will offer, again, these are completely personal, they're anecdotal, I only know my own experience, but is, if you don't take advantage of an opportunity, you will always regret. I ran, I don't know how many Boreman miles, and every single one before the race started, I'd already freaked myself out that I couldn't keep up, because they'd be like, "Oh, ask Bill Kiprop, drug cheat, whatever. He's requesting 2:48 at 1200. I'm like, I've never run 2:48. How the hell am I supposed to keep up? So before the race even started, I was out of it, because I was hanging on the back with all the other jokers who were like, "This is stupid," versus the race never goes out as fast as someone says it's going to go. Put yourself in it, be competitive, give yourself an opportunity, and allow yourself the opportunity to surprise yourself.
All right, we got any questions for Will up here? All right, Josh, what you got?
I thought about it. Divorce is expensive.
All right, guys, let's give it up for Will Leer.
One more.
Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. I can't see over here. Sorry.
Are you ever listening now to like commentators on like commentating on track and field, like on ESPN or anything? Kind of listening, like, that was a weak take. That's all. You could probably like do it better when you're listening to them, like Brian
John Anderson.
Because I like John a lot. So, all right. How do I answer this question and still keep a door open at NBC?
Just let him bring you and Jeff on NBC. That'd be a pretty cool team.
Jeff's deadpan. That's I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna answer this as honestly as possible. So when you're live on TV, it's really easy to be a backseat commentator. You have a producer in one ear, and then you have what you want to say versus what you think will no longer offer you a job in the next week. I think that there are too many people that dance on one side of that line. I am a believer that if I can offer honest, insightful, and not defamatory commentary, and I try and not let at least personal opinion enter these conversations that we have in the air, then it will come across as honest. I feel too often what you hear is exactly what someone is supposed to say versus what they want to say. And only when I feel as though the people who commentate on the highest, most broadly watched stage, when they say exactly what they want to and what they truly believe, does it become interesting, because we do it in every other sport, right? What makes Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal so incredibly interesting? There is no filter there. There is no filter. And if we had that in track and field without someone just being like, well, there's 15 other people waiting in line to take your job, you're out, then, I mean, that's not going to save the sport entirely, but it does become a whole lot more interesting. And also, I would offer this to the athletes, like, be your true self. Because if the press, I'm not the press, if you are given an opportunity for an interview and you answer with, I just executed the plan that my coach put out there for me, and I just want to thank God for this opportunity to race. That's great. And maybe that is true for you. Maybe that is your truth. But it's what 15 people said before, and it's not memorable. So by making yourself memorable, which isn't not being inauthentic to yourself, it has to be authentic to you, because everyone can see through, again, sorry, earmuffs, bullshit. That's how you go beyond the normal track and field.
It makes for a much better podcast interview too. When you give it
a fun podcast, didn't you?
Yeah, when you bring the energy like that. I had one more question for Will.
Go ahead.
I just wonder how you deal. I know you've been retired for a little while now, but like, do you
like an Olympic cycle?
Yeah,
just a little bit.
But like, do you reflect back? Like, are you at peace with your career? Like, how does everything settle with you?
I could have beaten all these kids so bad. I'm just kidding. Am I at peace with my career? Absolutely. I feel as though I was lucky. I was given some very great opportunities. I'm not sure that I seized them all. There are some things that I absolutely could have done better, but that doesn't make me look back. You know, like, what's the British band with the, Don't Look Back in Anger, Wonderwall, Oasis. Yeah, those guys. Yet another great British band, and not from Raleigh, I'll tell you what. But Don't Look Back in Anger, right? It was a time, it was a space. I grew a lot as an individual. I'd probably be a lot better of a runner now than I was when I was 23, but I had a lot of fun. I met my wife. I have no regrets.
All right, let's give it up for Will. Let's give it up for all the athletes tonight. Thank you guys for coming out. All the athletes, let's come up here and take a picture before you get out of here. A lot of fun stuff going on the rest of the week. 5 p.m. tomorrow, Tasty Bev. We got the official launch party for the beer. And then Friday's the race. Saturday morning, run with the pros. Saturday night, we got the downhill mile. So thank you, Alex and Runologie. Thank you to my co-host, Lindsey, Hein, for coming out. And thank you guys for coming out to enjoy Sir Walter Week. It's going to be a good one.